Welcome to the Groove Dudes podcast. My name is Tabor. Jamming out on the drums is Mr. Cody, my friend, my drum teacher, my buddy. And today we're talking about sourcing, having good sources of inspiration, being able to work with your bandmates, being able to sort through your ideas and use them. Ooh, I like that pause there. That was good. And I'm really excited for this episode because we hope that it inspires you a whole bunch. Isn't that right, Cody?
Yeah, I didn't drop my drumstick.
Not at all. No.
It's funny because
smooth recovery.
Yeah, you'd think that was the third time we tried that. It was actually the first.
No, I'm gonna keep. Even though you edit them, I'm going to keep those other starts in at the start.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, it's been a while since it's honestly been a while since I sat at the kit, man.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Since I've podcasted with you.
Can't sing like 80% of that song on this podcast.
That's the only part I know. So if there are graphical lyric content, then
Tabor is blessed soul because he's way more active on the drums than me these days. I'm old and rusty. I'm like, I can represent the chunk of listeners who are like, man, I want to play more, but I only play like once every week, maybe. And then Tabor is like, he's in it. He's in the thick of it.
I'm playing every day, but I'm catching up to you though. You have a decade of playing more, so it's still you still you're.
I don't know, man.
In my rowboat trying to
Apples
catch
to oranges, you know what I mean? And
No.
I am an apple because they're worse than oranges.
I'd take an apple over an
Yeah,
orange.
I think I'd take an apple over an orange too. That was got you, dude. Got him. Yeah, so sourcing, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah, sourcing specifically. I mean, you touched on it. Do you want me to go into it more? Or do you want
Why don't you take the reins, man, and talk
Okay.
about some of your sources?
The only reason so guys, we're going to be completely transparent here. This is the second time we're doing this episode, okay? I lost the footage on the first time. Actually, I didn't. I have 18 minutes of it. And I lost 6 minutes of it. And also the video doesn't work. But it's been so long since we recorded it that this is mostly new. So, sourcing, we want to get it right. So we're redoing this episode so we can get this right because
Yes.
we all pull inspiration from somewhere when we're writing drums, when we're being creative. And specifically we want to look at today is how do you source from your bandmates or whoever you're writing music with? How can you creatively use their ideas, especially if they aren't drummers, right? Mm-hmm. And incorporate that in your playing to get some more creative things going on. So that's kind of what we want to talk about. There's that level, and there's also another level of, okay, well, where do you source for ideas outside of your bandmates? Maybe you don't have bandmates. So where do you source? I mean,
It's just you.
yeah.
I think
Here.
the obvious one, just to put it in the podcast, is from your favorite drummers, right?
That's right.
You got to go there, but we want to challenge everybody to think outside even that box as well. Take inspiration from other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's I don't want to spoil it. I just you know what I mean? I almost shared something that's a spoiler for Act 3 of the podcast. So anyway,
Which is ironically already filmed. No, it's not. We're filming in order.
yeah, exactly.
We haven't had any problems.
We've never made a mistake.
Not at all.
So anyway,
No.
let's jump in here, man. I think you got the first one here, and
Yeah. So this is a song that my band and I wrote all together, 4 of us, and started with a guitar riff from the guitarist, if you could believe it.
No way.
And yeah, dude. And we all really liked this riff, and so we started jamming to it, tried a couple different drum beats, found stuff I liked, and then we just kind of slowly crafted it out, and we had to come up with our right methods of communication, because I'd start talking like, okay, so we're going to do 4 bars of that and then go into the next part. And not everybody in the group were counting the same way I have. Not everyone had kind of the orchestra background of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3, like I do, of keeping track of measures.
Not everyone listened to that metronome that the dude counts to you.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah. Yeah. Not everyone has trauma in their life like you and I do.
PTSD metronome burned into their souls.
Yeah. So I think one big thing, if you're working with a group of people as a drummer, you've got to find the way of communicating that works for the group. And it wasn't the way that I was accustomed to, and I had to let go of some of my ways that I normally organize music and start to hear from other people so we could move the train forward, because ain't no way I was going to teach the whole group my way of thinking. It was pointless. So I think that's a big part of sourcing, is when you're working with other people and you're sharing ideas, just because someone else doesn't put it in the way that you're used to hearing it explained doesn't mean it's a bad idea or that you should dismiss it. In fact, you should open your mind, because you can really grow from it. So anyway, we're writing
to add
the song.
on to that, not to interrupt you, but I was just telling you this earlier, but my drum teacher growing up, dude's awesome. He's the man, best teacher out there, Keith Sorensen. He actually has his own channel right now too.
Right on.
So
shout out Keith.
Shout out Keith. I'll put a link to it in the notes here. But he, I remember trying to explain to him, this wasn't a drum part, but it was, how do I make my toms sound more chunky? Because I listen to a lot of metal. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I could not explain the difference between a tom sound like in my basement compared to a studio recording of metal toms with all the processing and all that. I didn't know how to communicate that. And so he was super confused because I couldn't communicate it. Years later, I look back at that and I'm like, what the heck was I talking about? It's really hard. It's hard to communicate music to people with different experience. Someone like him who had a more trained ear and is familiar with the studio process, and me as a teenager had no idea. Which is not exactly the same as what you're saying, but similar.
But, no, that's great, because what we ended up doing is I grabbed my whiteboard and we wrote out each section. But instead of, in how my brain works, like 8 measures this section, 16 measures, we wrote how many times the riff played.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were all able to keep track of it and write the song. So, but the part of it I want to share, I think you have it pulled up here. The end of it, I had a great idea to kind of maybe rip off an artist a little bit.
Sourcing.
Sourcing. Yes. Not ripping off. Steal.
Should we call it? Is this episode called sourcing or plagiarism?
It's called skirting around plagiarism.
Yeah.
But the rhythm towards the end of Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Someone suggested, hey, what if we just totally change gears and throw that in here? And I think it works really well, and it's way more interesting than what the song was going to be. So I forget the timestamp, Cody. How long is the song? Like 5?
It's almost 5 minutes. I think it's at 4 minutes if I remember last time we did
this.
Yeah,
that should cue it in. So
let's
let's check
a little
out
runway. So here we go. Nope. I got to go back more.
That was spoiling it.
All right. I'm going to go back. Let's see. 15 seconds.
Sounds a little distorted on
Is that good?
That was awesome. So you heard that we used the rhythm from Iris, right? And if we don't want to do it, it's too long for the podcast, but if you listen to the whole song, it's a nice breakup, change of pace there at the end. It kind of builds this big grand finale. And that wasn't my idea at all. I wanted to do a big double chorus, just kind of more of what we'd been doing before, and end with that outro you started to hear. And that's what's so nice about sourcing from other people is people just throw curveballs at you and go for it. Even if you're like, no, I really feel strongly it should be this way. Try the other person's idea, because you might not like it, but it might lead you both to something else that was better than what either of you had on your own.
I think that's key, what you said there, too, is try. Always try it. I mean, I'm a designer at work, a UX, UI design, or product design. And so this happens all the time where it's like, well, how do we want to build something into this web application? How do we want it to look? And obviously there's research you can do it. The best research is prototyping, because you need to see it so you can interact with it and then see how it actually feels when you're moving through these pages or you're moving through this flow. And it's the same with music. Like, you might have an idea in your head like, that's not going to sound good. Well, prove it, right? Like, get it out, get it down, so you can prove if it doesn't sound good. Like when I'm writing songs with my buddy Lenny, we a lot of times we'll sing parts. I'm not a super great singer. He's a very good singer. But we'll sing parts at each other and try to figure out what do we want to do differently with things. And we sing a lot of bad parts, especially me, because it's not my strong suit. But it gives us ideas where we can finally pinpoint and tune in these good parts. And so I think that's key, is always try it,
Yeah, and to build off of that, going into a writing situation with a mutual understanding that, hey, I want us to be comfortable throwing out ideas, because even if I know it's bad going in, let's keep it positive, let's keep it moving forward, because it might suck, but it might inspire one of us to think of this other thing, and then now the song's so much better because of the actual bad idea.
Right.
And having that trust and communication is key. Awesome, man. So yeah, that's my example. Hopefully that song will be released someday. I don't know. We're I really want it to. Yeah. I'm really quite fond of that song and how it's turning out. So we'll keep you posted.
I just had a conversation with my daughter. It was it today or yesterday? She's 6. And it was yesterday. She's doing Irish dance classes, and she loves it. But sometimes she's nervous with it, like, if I do this, I might trip, I might fall or whatever. I was like, this is exactly the same idea. Like, you have to risk tripping and falling if you want to get better, or as the kids say, get good. You know what I'm saying? Because we're hip on this podcast. But you got to risk it.
Hip just dated us, Cody.
We're groovy,
think hip
man.
is used anymore. Yeah.
Groovy, dude.
We're far out, yo.
Far out. But you gotta risk it. You gotta risk the bad ideas to get the good ones. You gotta risk falling if you want to get better at dancing or whatever. So,
absolutely,
dude. Nice.
Sweet, man. I'm excited to hear your sourcing idea, because this is the first time we're filming this, and I've forgotten.
You have no idea
what
this is going to blow you away, dude.
I forget your source.
So my source is my homie Lenny. What really happened here was we wrote an EP. We wrote it back in 2021. This is for my project called Sworn Brothers with him. Just me and him. He does piano. He sings. He plays saxophone. He plays horns. I do drums, bass, percussion, and backup vocals. So it's a fun project. But he wrote like 4 songs. He was going through a tough time, busted out 4 songs to get all his emotions out through this tough time. And I came in and added drums to it and helped him with the arrangement on those 4, but he really did the core of those 4 songs. We need one more song because we wanted to depict the grief cycle. There's 5 stages of grief. So the first song we wanted to be Denial.
Isn't it Denial? Yeah.
Yep. And so we took that idea and we're like, you know what? All 4 of these songs are kind of downers. Except for the last one.
You need an acceptance song. Yeah.
We have an acceptance song, but you got to get through a lot of stuff before you get there. And the acceptance song isn't like, yay! It's like, this is hard and we got to slog through it, but I'm going to do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first song, we wanted to be more upbeat. We wanted to be more funky and get some of these funkier grooves in there. So I was talking with him, what should we do with the song? We went back and forth, and together we decided, let's start a song with a drum beat instead of with the piano, because all the other songs start with the piano. It's like, okay, we'll start with the drum beat, and we want to go funky with it. And so that's kind of where those ideas came from. And I sat down, and the drum part I came up with was my own, but us talking about what we wanted sourced where that came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gave me a starting point. Like, I would love to write a drum beat and base a whole song off of a drum beat. And that's what we did with this.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead. Oh, go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say, what a powerful, really cool starting idea, too. It's like, hey, let's write 5 songs, or versus let's write them based around this concept. And I think that can often really help get things going.
Well, it changes it up, too. You got a whole album of music, and every single song starts with the piano. It's like, it's going to get boring after a while. Not necessarily, but it helps you change it up.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
All right, so let's just head on out the intro. I'll just play the verse.
Sick.
As soon as it loads, my dude. Whoa. Did that sound crazy to you?
That sound crazy. Dude. You know, the TD-17, sorry, Roland. I love you. Please endorse us. But every once in a while, the Bluetooth craps out, and you have to un-Bluetooth it, then re-Bluetooth it.
Oh, that's what's going on.
And it fixes it.
Okay, I'm just going to play it. I'm just going to play it, everybody.
Oh, that's what I was hoping for. I was going to say, hey, play it better than it's even recorded when you had all that time and were probably more awake and not put on the spot.
Exactly.
Play it better.
I did play it on the intro, so there you go. And I didn't have to do it 3 times. Here we go. Pretty much that. So
I love that beat, dude. That's so sick.
Dude, it's groovy. And then the cool thing about that beat is it really is the beat for the whole song. So here's the pre-chorus is the only time it really changes. And I actually like the pre-chorus better than the verse even because I'm just obsessed with this beat. But it goes like this. So that's how the pre-chorus goes.
That's fun.
And then the chorus is almost the exact same thing. It's just on the ride. So. And then it goes back to the verse. And then pre-chorus. So everything in the song is almost the same groove idea.
Mm-hmm.
Even the outro goes like this. So it's the same groove, just on a different palette.
That skipping of beat 1 every other time is what makes that, dude. That's what makes you go, ugh. Because,
makes you
1
wanna,
and 2 and 3 and 4.
Don't you just feel like you're in denial?
So good.
You know?
That's the denial song?
That's the denial song.
I accept that I'm in denial.
Dude, nice. I am depressed about that. I'm just kidding. All right, so anyway, that whole album will be out soon.
Heck yeah. And where can we find that album?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, dude. It'll be on Spotify and Apple Music, and it'll be everywhere.
Nice. But, Sworn Brothers, what's the album name?
Sworn Brothers' album name is Stages.
Stages.
So, anyway,
perfect.
That was birthed because of sourcing. So, Tabor, let's take it another step here with sourcing.
Let's do it.
What? Let's talk about. So we talked about bandmates. Let's go a little bit bigger out of here, out of that immediate zone. Maybe not. That might be less immediate, honestly. That's a little further reach for some of us.
Right. If you don't have bandmates to band with.
Yeah. So what about favorite drummers or music? What are your thoughts on sourcing from there?
Oh, all the time. So it's interesting. The first thing that comes to my mind is our latest Interstellar Harvest song, another plug for another group of mine. This is with my good friend Elise. And it's a song that's not out yet, and I don't think you have it queued up. And that's totally fine. But
Dude, I can cue it up. Keep chatting.
do you have it?
I don't know.
I don't even know if I've sent you.
What's this one called?
Nothing's Gonna Change.
Oh, no, I don't have that.
No. I don't think I've sent this one to you. I'll send it to you soon. But
Please.
my attitude, it was more like an attitude. I was like, I want to play like Neil Peart. Not any like particular licks or parts, but just his attitude. And I'm talking like earlier Neil, a little bit more, dare I say, aggressive. I don't know if Neil's ever been aggressive, but just really on it and really driving.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of his famous ride patterns and cool stuff like that. And that was my source for the tone. I thought it would go really well. So I'll just play from memory kind of the intro. Let's see if I have it. So I'm just thinking, like just really driven, upbeat Neil Peart. I'm going for that. And if I was sourcing from a different drummer, I think it would come out of me a little bit differently. Like I'll play the same thing, but maybe emulating more Gavin, my favorite Gavin Harrison.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm putting myself in the Gavin seat, I'm going to play. It wasn't the same part. I changed the kick pattern. I cheated, but I have a whole other vibe to reach for. So that's how I mostly think about sourcing from my favorite drummers. Is my own worldview of what their drumming sounds like to me, and then I emulate that back out. So I don't know if it sounded terribly different,
it did.
Or if you could hear a feel change.
It felt way different. I mean, it sounded different. There's more fills and stuff with Gavin.
Right.
But with the feel, it's funny because what I'm feeling the most is the hi-hat because of where the kick placement is. Okay, because you're doing... Like it's almost like you're focusing on driving that hi-hat. And
when I'm sourcing from who, I'm curious.
Neil Peart.
Yeah. Peart.
Yeah.
Say it right.
No, Peart. Oh yeah,
Peart.
I thought it was Peart. No, dude. I said Peart. I said Peart. You know, Neil Peart. Okay.
I'm making this into a short.
But it feels like almost like you're pushing through the hi-hat. I mean, the hi-hat's always there to drive in the ride. Those are big drivers for keeping the beat steady. But you're almost pushing through it. There's a lot of ghost notes going on here, or sorry, ghost notes since we're pronouncing things wrong, and displaced kick
on the snar.
Displaced kick and on the snar and So. Yeah, I like that. That's a good exercise too. There's on the same note, we'll probably wrap up with this. When I was in junior high, and Tabor doesn't remember this because he hated my freaking guts back then. But in ninth grade, I did a drum solo at a school assembly, and some dude threw a tomato at me. His name was Tabor.
Yeah.
And
then I went and stood outside. It was hailing at the time, but that was better than listening to your drum solo.
Yeah. And he was wearing a shirt that said it's Peart, not Pert, or something dumb like that. Anyways. Anyway, so I wrote a drum solo that was essentially a compilation of some of my favorite beats from a bunch of different drummers. So I had a beat from a POD song called "Mark My Words." I had something from a My Chemical Romance song. I don't even remember the name of that song. It's from like the opening song on their Black Parade album. And there's some drum licks in there from Avenged Sevenfold and some from Seven Dust and all these different bands. I took them and I specifically called it my hybrid drum solo. That's why I named it, because I wanted to blend my ideas with their ideas. So hybrid. And it's not a great solo, but it was very beat focused. It wasn't big and flashy. And my band teacher at the time, did you have Mr. Houts, dude?
No.
You did orchestra.
I did orchestra in junior high, so I had Mr. Kemp. Shout out Mr. Kemp. He's awesome.
Okay.
But no.
Yeah, so Mr. Houts was awesome too. But he was like a diehard, like, go to school with your tuba playing. I played tuba in junior high. With your tuba playing, get a scholarship, and then if you want to play drums, use the money from the scholarship to help you play drums. I was like, I don't want to play tuba, though. Like, I want to play drums. So
why have the middleman be the tuba? You can go right for the drums.
Yeah. But after I did that drum solo, he pulled me into his office, and he's like, you're the first drummer I've seen in this school come up and play a drum solo based around drum beats instead of fills.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very mature move to make. And I was like, oh, wow, that's high praise from this dude because he's hardcore. So I felt really good about that, even though my drum solo, like looking back, I was like, ooh, it's, I was 14. So, I mean, it was what it was. But that meant a lot to me. And the reason I did that solo again is because I just took beats that I loved from drummers. I sourced and not plagiarized, right?
No, sourced.
Sourced. I made it my own. But we joke about this,
TM.
guys, but everybody's inspired by tons of things.
Mm-hmm.
So is anything original? We get kind of pessimistic. We'll say, no, nothing is. I kind of want to argue that, yeah, most things are, but that doesn't mean they don't share some similarities with other things.
Right.
So anyway, there's my...
That's awesome. And you were just 14 2 years ago, so you remember that solo note for note, and
That's
you're going to play it all for us right now, right?
Yeah. Actually, I do
To
remember
close
how
out
it
the
starts.
podcast?
It goes...
Oh, heck yeah.
Starlight, something like that. That's the My Chemical Romance thing that opens it. It actually ends with Sum 41.
Awesome.
Something like that from Sum 41.
Heck
But,
yeah.
I gotta go dig it up
That's
because
awesome.
I would love to remake it and make it like clean.
Right. Yeah. Add a little bit of Cody now touches versus then. Yeah. That'd be awesome, man. Well, sweet, dude. Well, I hope everybody out there now feels inspired to go create something and draw inspiration. Sourced from this podcast, dude. That'd be like Inception. Be awesome.
It would be like Inception, but I was gonna say not as good. That's a really good movie, but his,
we're not as good as award-winning
Christopher Nolan
multi-million-dollar films.
Hard to admit, but I think I can concede on that.
This is a Roland, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't some
I thought it was Roland.
Roland.
Come on, dude, pronounce it right.
Right on, man. All right. Well, shall we close it out, my man?
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
all the listeners.
Yeah,
Let's
dude.
do it.
All right.
We want to thank you for listening to this podcast. I'm going to do it in my pseudo announcer voice. My name's Tabor. The other guy, my friend, my buddy, the person I did not stand out in the hail to Mrs. Solo. I just don't even think I was there that day. Cody Moulton. You've been listening to the Groove Dudes podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us in all those places. Share. We want to make this bigger. So if you liked it, if we made you laugh, if we inspired you a little bit to play your drums, to create some new stuff, share it with people. That means a lot. And this was part 2 of a multi-part series on songwriting, drum writing, how to find inspiration for your songs. Thank you for listening.